Hi everyone, it's Agata from Simply Grow, and today's videos will hopefully support you if you are approaching the time in your journey with your little one when you have to go back to work or you have to trust someone else with looking after your precious little one. So what we're talking about here is separation anxiety. So before I say anything else, know that this is hard. We will all go through it at some point. This is a very stressful time, not just for your child, but for yourself as well. So make sure you look after yourself if you are in this period when you will go back to work or the routine is going to change and you experienced already or anticipate separation anxiety. It's stressful, it's tough, and it will happen, as I said, to all of us. Another thing to remember is that with your child, you can't keep them happy all the time. In their lives, they are going to experience a variety of emotions, feelings, and it's what base you provide as a parent is going to make it easier for them to deal with those feelings. And in their lives, they're going to be sad and happy, disappointed, and they'll be anxious. But it's about being able to cope with those emotions in a healthy way is what we are trying to achieve as parents, as caregivers. So don't kick yourself if your child is crying, if they're unhappy. All the emotions, as long as they are in that healthy spectrum where they don't impact with your little one's day-to-day life in a significant way, they're absolutely fine. So separation anxiety may start as early as before the first birthday and may last up until 4-5 years of age. Different children will experience it at different times. It's not said that if your child starts showing signs of separation anxiety around their first birthday, that they're going to carry on having it till fourth, fifth birthday. Every child is going to experience it differently. It's going to come and go in waves, and it may manifest itself differently. So usually the first time that you're going to notice that your child is unhappy when you leave them is usually or often when it's time to go back to work. So when your maternity leave is close to an end and you start thinking of your options, whether it's the nursery, any type of daycare, childminders, having your family members looking after your child, that's when it may start. So there are a few things that we can do to make that transition easier. So I'll first tell you about some of the tips to make it a bit more manageable, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about separation disorder very briefly, and then tell you a little bit about different types of attachment, which also play a role here when it comes to separation anxiety. So if you are approaching that time when you know you're going to leave your child with someone else, make sure you plan for it. And even if you're not the planning kind of person, it is going to help you. So if you can schedule in a transition period, so start leaving your little one with someone else for shorter periods of time, say an hour without you, with someone they know, preferably at home, so it's a familiar environment, and then try to extend that period of time. If it's not possible and you know that at some point they're going to be left somewhere else, at childminders, at the nursery, at any type of daycare, at your family member's house, try to, from that first stage of leaving your child with someone at home, try to then move on to leaving them where they're actually going to be. But before you leave them, spend some time with them there. So try to, if possible, obviously, try to arrange time when you stay with them when they will be staying. It's more difficult now with places like nurseries or even childminders because of coronavirus. So there are bubbles that adults should not be entering, so that makes things a little bit more difficult. But if you can, take photos of the place, talk your little one through it, show them where they will be going. If you have their picture and the picture of the place where they will be, stick that picture on, a picture of their face or of themselves, so that it becomes more familiar and they understand better. Visuals are your friend. Excuse me. Children do operate with visuals, and they make their lives much easier. So if you do have visuals of people who are going to look after them, definitely use them. So let's say if later on today you know that they're going to stay with someone else, have a picture of that person ready to show them that this is what's going to happen. Okay, so your child will start to process that, and you will also notice the reaction. Don't make a big deal out of it, just tell them that this is what we're doing later, and this is the photograph of the person you're going to stay with. You're going to have lots of fun, and you can even mention, if you know what they'll be doing, to prepare your little one so there's something they anticipate rather than something they fear. Because separation anxiety, at its root, it's a fear. Your child is scared that they're not going to see you again, which is awful if you think about it. But it's about preparing them and explaining that this is not true. You are going to see me in a very short period of time. We're going to be together again. So if you can schedule that transition, prepare your child for it, perfect. Now, when it gets to the moment when you have to leave your child, try to keep it short and sweet. Always do it in the same way if possible. So a quick goodbye, a kiss, a special handshake, special high five, something that you do always in the same way, and keep it short. If you see your child getting distressed, leave quicker. It's much harder to leave if your child is really now hyped up and crying their eyes out, and it's heartbreaking. It's very difficult for a parent. You feel like the worst person in the world. You question all your life choices. So it's better to keep it short and leave quickly. If you can, and I know that some people will disagree with that, but from experience, I think if you can, leave something that belongs to you, that smells like you, especially if your child is younger. So we're talking that first stage of separation anxiety around the first birthday. So if you've got a little scarf that smells like you, maybe something you can sleep with for a few days so it smells like you, so that your child has got that sensory comfort to reach out to if they do feel distressed, especially at the beginning. To remember, to know that, oh, this is the person, I can smell her and she is going to come back. I say she, but it might be he as well. Depends who is the primary caregiver in your family. So breathe. So we've got scheduling that time, planning it really well, and then keeping it short and sweet and keeping that routine still. Now, some people hate the routine, but as much as you may hate it, routine is going to be your friend to help your little one transition into wherever they go and help to support them with separation anxiety. So it's not just routine around always dropping them off at the same time or in the same way, but it's also routine around everything else. Children feel safe in routine, and that's because the executive function is not developed enough yet to know that, you know, even if things are not the same, I'm safe. Children are safe in a routine. So if you always have your bed routine that looks the same, morning routine, so try to keep as many times during the day looking similar or the same, even if they don't happen at the same time, but they look the same, if that makes sense. Let's say your bedtime, it may vary, it might be 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, but you keep things the same. So let's say you've got book, bath, bottle, whatever it is, try to keep those things the same. So the more secure your child feels throughout the day, the easier it's going to be for them with that routine around leaving them somewhere else. So definitely routine is your friend here. And another thing, quick tip, try to avoid as much as you can screens and TV, especially around the time of transition, because sometimes children can pick on things that will make them scared and may increase the anxiety. So definitely keep that TV time down. And if you've got a family member or a childminder looking after your little one, please also stress no TV, no screen time, as harsh as it sounds, especially at the beginning, because different things that may seem really innocent to us may seem very scary and anxiety provoking for little ones. So things that they pick and then, you know, they can't process it in their little brains yet, and they may cause anxiety. So another thing, whenever your children stay in different places, they'll be kept busy. And when we're busy, we forget about our worries, and it's the same with the little ones. So they'll forget about missing you so much if they are busy, and especially if they go to a good nursery, they will definitely very quickly be preoccupied with something else. So we've got that. Let me quickly have a think. With routine, we spoke about the routine. Let me just quickly check if I've got any notes here when I was trying to organize my thoughts. Very, very important thing, stay calm. So if you get anxious about the whole situation with leaving your child, they're going to definitely feed off your emotions. So try to remain as calm as you can in yourself, as hard as it is. If you can, the night before, go for a walk, have a nice bath. Make sure that you are mentally prepared for that tricky situation. Remain calm, and it's going to definitely support your child with it. If you promise anything to your child that something is going to happen when I pick you up, always stick to your promises. Very, very important, so your child knows that they can trust you. And keep things as consistent as they are. And something that's very important to remember, children learn independence through dependence. So don't feel like, oh, I'm cuddling my child too much, or I'm spending too much time with them, so they'll find it more difficult to transition to the childminder, nursery, spending time with the family member. That's not true. So providing that actual sense of security for your child, knowing that they can rely on you and knowing that they've got quality time with you, it's strengthening synapses in the brain, so that your child, whenever they do find that stressful situation of staying somewhere else without you, it'll be easier for them to cope with it. But don't be overprotective and overreactive. So if you feel like you are stressing about the whole situation, it's not going to help your child, okay? And now, leaving your child somewhere and seeing them distressed, it is actually good if they are a tiny bit upset, because that means they understand their immediate circle, family circle, or people who are around them. So it would be worrying if they weren't. Okay, and again, I said that, as I said earlier, every child is different, and they're going to go through different stages of separation anxiety. But secure attachment, I'm going to jump quickly to types of attachment here. So, excuse me, secure attachment is when the bump is making me burp. That's so embarrassing. Secure attachment is when you leave your child, they are a bit distressed, but they get over it quickly, and then when they see you again, they run towards you and they're happy to see you. Now, insecure attachment would be when your child is absolutely inconsolable when you leave them. They will cry for the entire time, and then when they see you, they are clearly upset with you. They may be even physically aggressive. And then the avoidant type of attachment is when you can leave your child with absolutely anyone and they don't care, and when you pick them up again, there isn't much variation in their emotional states. And again, as I said, children will go through different stages in their lives. It's not said that if your child is leaving you without crying, you don't have a secure attachment with them. They may just be going through something else. Children go through developmental phases all the time, you know yourself, and they might be just about to catch a cold. There might be something happening that's impacting on their mood and their feelings, their emotions. So don't kick yourself about it. But in general, the majority of children, they're going to be distressed for a little bit, and then they're going to get over it. Normal separation anxiety. And different researchers say that on different types of attachment, what impacts on it is your parenting style, the way you respond to your child's needs, plus their personality. So each child is going to respond different to different situations, just like we would, like, you know, every single one of us is different. But what is recommended is to provide responsive and positive parenting to your child. So definitely respond to their need. Don't worry that you are being too responsive or you are being too cuddly with your child. There's no such thing. And as I said earlier, it's going to strengthen those synapses in the brain to prepare your child for stressful situations in their life so that they can deal with them. So what you want from your child, you want them to see themselves as loved and as positive. You want them to have positive image of themselves, and you can do that by providing responsive, positive parenting. Now, sometimes things get a little bit more serious, and that's when we talk about separation disorder. So that's when your child might really find it difficult to get out of that anxiety stage, and that anxiety is going to impact on their activities, the way they interact with people for prolonged periods of time. And there might be different reasons for it. Maybe something traumatic happened in their little life already. Maybe there was a big move, maybe there was a big change in their life. There might be different reasons to cause that. Again, the best thing you can do is to add a lot of patience to your parenting and give them a lot of space and a lot of attention to ensure that they are secure, they feel secure. Made me really thinking about that situation and organizing my thoughts in my head. Made me think about my time as a teacher. That very often children who found it, especially with emotional behavior difficulties, who didn't have that security and routine at home, they would go to most extreme behaviors in the classroom because they wanted for me to be consistent. So they knew that if they did A, B, or C, this is what I'm going to do because I said I would do it. And it was more about testing the boundaries and seeing what I am going to do, how I am going to respond, because they wanted to ensure that my reaction stays consistent. Okay, so the more they kick off, I'm not going to all of a sudden get scared or change my mind about the consequences of the behavior. So very often, once the consequences were in place, it was absolutely fine because the adults did what the adults said or had said they would do. And so with your child, if they're displaying an extreme behavior, routine, security, consistency, and warmth, patience is the best thing you can provide them. If they do suffer from that extreme separation disorder, it's going to take time. The strategies you're going to put in place are not going to change their behavior overnight. But if you stay consistent, you are going to see the results 100%. So I did tell you about setting the limits, provide lots of praise whenever you leave your child and they do stay in that place. When you see them again, give them lots of praise, specific praise for their achievement. And I think that's more or less it. I'm really sorry for my burping. It's just a bump. It's not making it easier, especially after dinner. So if you do have any tips yourself, anything that you recommend because you've been through it, please share, because I'm sure there are parents and carers out there who would like some support with it. As I said, you are also a very important part of that relationship. I realize this video is a bit longer, but it's such a deep topic. So look after yourself. If you don't feel emotionally stable at the time, it's going to be difficult to provide that emotional stability to your child who is looking to you to find that calmness that they need. Give it time. Rome wasn't built in a day, so definitely, the first time you leave them is going to be the worst. And as I said, you're going to feel like the worst person in the world. The mom guilt, parent guilt is going to kick in big time. But try to keep in touch with whoever's looking after your child so you can calm yourself down. If your child is still distressed after a while, don't just take them out of the place. Provide more routine. If you have to resort to an occasional treat, do it. I would say even if it makes you feel better, go for it. But as I said, if you've got any other tips, please share. I hope you found it useful. It's never easy. I know myself when I had to leave Amy for the first time and she cried, but then I called the place and the nursery Amy went to was absolutely amazing. And they did say that no, she was upset for a little bit, but then she got over it. But then again, when I knew that she was going through a bit of developmental phase, she might have found it a little bit more tricky, but consistently day after day, she saw me coming back. And your child is going to learn the same thing, that mom is going to leave me in the morning, but she will always come back. Okay, so this kind of processing takes time. So hope you found it useful. Apologies for the length of the video, but it's quite a deep topic, close to our hearts, I'm sure. So stay strong, look after yourself, and good luck.